Hello everyone, welcome to the ITLS Academy. Today's lecture is on the topic cardiovascular diseases. In a previous lecture, we have discussed about the diseases called obesity and diabetes. Today I am taking about cardiovascular diseases. So beginning with our lecture, first let's see the classification. Cardiovascular diseases includes the following such as coronary heart disease, that means narrowing of the lumen of the arteries supplying blood to the heart muscle as a result of atheromatous plaque on the arterial walls. So this actually what happens in this limits the blood supply because the lumen of the arteries get narrower. So this limits the blood supply to the heart muscle, causing pain or agnia and breathlessness on exhaustions. Damaged plaques leads to a clotting response which may result in the thrombus detaching from the artery wall and occluding the lumen with the subsequent heart muscle death. The next one is your cerebral infarction. In this, the thrombus occlusion of an artery supplying blood to the brain, leading to irreversible damage to the brain tissue that results in stroke or transient ischemic attack. So the thrombus may arise from the atheromatous plaque from within the brain or another blood vessel, and the risk of occlusion is increased in narrowed arteries. The third classification is peripheral vascular diseases. So peripheral vascular disease, in this the atheromatous plaque leads to the narrowing of peripheral blood vessels. Most commonly it occurs in the legs, and this result in poor blood supply and pain on exertion, that is the claudication. So let's talk about the prevalence, how it is being occur in the world. What is the number of patients in the whole world? Globally, the cardiovascular disease (CVD) is the greatest cause of death, approximately around 18 millions or 33% is a person suffering from this cardiovascular diseases. So the prevalence is increasing rapidly in most countries, with the highest rate reported in those with the Western diet and lifestyle, although rates are also rising in developing countries in parallel with the obesity. So CVD prevalence is higher in men and than women before the menopause and increases with the age. Means as you get older, the chances of getting the cardiovascular suffering from cardiovascular diseases rises. So there are mainly 6 factors for heart disease. Firstly, it is related with your high blood pressure, HBP. It can make blood vessels stiff, the result which results in reduced blood flow and oxygen to the heart and your body and to all over your body. Next is your high cholesterol is a responsible factor for any of the heart disease problem. In this, having high level of low density lipoprotein, that is the LDL, or we can say bad cholesterol, creates a plaque build up in your arteries. Third cause is your obesity. Obesity is the main cause for many of the problem. Let me tell you, many of the problem in your body. Once you get control your overweight, you can get rid of many of the diseases. So obesity is also one of the factor for causing any of the heart diseases. Carrying excess weight force your heart to work harder, which can lead to high blood pressure and coronary artery diseases. Fourth, the main cause is your diabetes. Somewhere diabetes also affects your functioning of your heart. Type 1 and type 2 diabetes limits your body's ability to maintain a health level of glucose, which damage your heart. Fifth one is your smoking or vaping. So lighting up and can elevate heart rate, narrow blood vessels, and ultimately lead to dangerous blood clots in your arteries and veins. Last one is your stress. Sometimes tension can elevate your heart rate and blood pressure, which can interfere with the blood vessel function. So here are some of the other than that, some of the another contributing causes are there for any cardiovascular diseases, CVD. First is your increasing age. So many of the persons, as their age increases, as they get older and older day by day, they also get more chances of getting any of the diseases. They may get suffer from obesity, they get suffer from diabetes, and also may get suffer from the this cardiovascular diseases. So diabetes, as I told in the previous slide, it is also the main cause of having cardiovascular diseases. The male gender, the obesity, the female postmenopause. Due to postmenopause, also some of the cardiovascular diseases occurs in your body. High blood pressure is responsible for this. Decreased socio-economic status is also a cause of your heart disease. Increased serum total cholesterol, ethnic background, increased serum uh, low density lipoprotein, cholesterol, physical activity means if you are not indulge in any of the physical activity, you are not performing any of the exercise or do not do any of the physical workout in your daily routine, then also this there is a chances more to get your cardiovascular disease or get suffer from these heart disease problem. Also, it occurs due to the decreased serum of high density lipoprotein, cholesterol, smoking, and increased serum triglycerides. So other problems, risk factors, marker includes your other lipid related factors, your vascular endothelial dysfunction, oxidative stress, coagulation factor, inflammation factor, and also sometimes it occurs due to blood homocysteines and maternal fetal undernutrition. So these are the some other causes which is responsible for any of the uh, heart related problem that you may suffer. Okay, next is your cardioprotective diet, means to get rid of, to get cure, to get prevention of from the any of the cardiovascular diseases. First, you should follow the cardioprotective diet, which includes some of the fruits, some of those foods that are helpful to the patient in controlling or get a safer zone from getting suffering from the cardiovascular diseases. So first is the we'll talk about the primary prevention. In this primary prevention, the nutritional recommendation for the general population includes those with the cardiovascular disease risk factor, and which could include your that it summarizes that you should eat, the patient should eat oily fish at least once per week. He or she eat five or more portion of fruit and vegetables per day. Choose oils or spreads that are higher in monosaccharide and lower in saturates. Monosaturates and lower in saturates. Also, they have to reduce the salt intake by using less at table, eat more starchy foods, and drink alcohol sensibly. For example, drink alcohol sensibly means you can take 2 to 3 units per day for women and 3 to 4 units per day for a man. And here the you can take the starchy food, means for example you can incorporate bread, potatoes, pasta, rice. These are the things that are good source of starch, and you can incorporate these foods in your daily daily food items. So reduce salt intake by using less at table in uh, use less salt in cooking, and also avoid salty foods. You can choose, here I'm always talking about the monosaturates oil. So Instead of using the mustard oil, coconut oil, you should go for opting to use the olive oil instead that, or rapeseed oil you can go for. Okay, you should also follow that reduce amount of all fat eaten, means you have to reduce the amount whatever the fat you eat. For example, you should select the lean meat and lower fat dairy products, and use less oil and fat in cooking, and also reduce use of full fat spreads and eat less fried foods and high fat foods such as cakes, biscuits and pastries and savory snacks, etc. Okay, let's talk about the secondary prevention. So secondary prevention, the recommendation based on the systematic review of randomized controlled trials that shows that providing dietary advice to all individuals who had a we can say myocardial infections. So the dietary advice that saves life and improves the health of people who had an MI, that is the myocardial infractions, should be followed. They should increase the N3 fat intake from the dietary or supplementary fish oil. Okay, one recent studies has shown that this may not be suitable for men, but agnia and is subjected to debate. Next is decrease saturated fat and total or partial replacement by unsaturated fats. So, for example, again, this is from the first primary prevention also I've told that instead of using monosaturate, high monosaturates, you should go for olive oil and rapeseed oil in your foods. Mediterranean diets advise, which includes the increased intake of N3 fat, fruits, vegetables, and fresh foods, and decrease in saturated fats are and processed foods. Ideally, this advice should be provided by registered dietitian, but where access is limited, their workload should be prioritized to optimize the advice provided by the other professionals, for example, cardiac rehabilitation nurses and practices nurses, etc. Also, support individuals who are struggling with the dietary advice or who have other medical conditions such as along with the cardiovascular disease, they also suffer from the diabetes. And also, the work of dietitian is to provide high quality of written information to all the people with the suffering from this cardiovascular diseases. So, nutritional recommendation for general population, as I told, that they should take wherever there is a possibility, they should take the N3 fat intake and carbohydrates such as starch, intrinsic milk, and non-milk intrinsic sugars, non-starch polysaccharides should be introduced in their diet. Sodium should be reduced in and reduce salt intake from 9 to 6 gram per day. Also, you have to reduce the potassium intake. Sorry, you can increase the potassium intake to 3 to 3.5 gram per day. Total fat should be reduced, saturated fat reduced by 11%. Monosaturated fat should increase by 13% of the food present. So these are the consideration, these are the cardioprotective diets that you should follow for treatment, for your treatment or for your benefit in cardiovascular diseases. So considering that the prevalence of CVD is higher in lower socioeconomic group and in certain ethnic groups and geographical region, the advice given must be tailored to the target individual or group needs so that it is practical and culturally appropriate and also culturally acceptable. Next is your other lifestyle interventions. In this, dietary advice should be given in conjunction with the guidance and support about other aspects of life, including your promotion of physical activity. For example, adults should achieve at least 30 minutes of moderate activity, brisk walking on at least 5 days per week, and children and young adults should aim to undertake this for at least 60 minutes every day. You have to cut off your smoking, means stop smoking cessations. There is a stress management. You should get this support by all your individuals, your family members. Along with this, you have to go for the regular activity, regular exercise. For this, you have to also eat right things that is good for your health. As I told, that you should follow the cardio protective diet. You have to go for regular exercise to shed off some of your weight if you are overweighted or suffering from obesity. No smoking should be done. Do not drink alcohol, or if you are taking it, so take it in less quantity. Next is your congestive cardiac failure. So heart failure results from damage to the heart, leads to reduced efficiency in pumping blood around the body, with the consequent symptoms of fluid retention, breathlessness, and fatigue. So the medical treatment, including the prescription of diuretic and ACE, that is the angiotensin converting enzyme inhibitor, may be supported by the dietary management. For this prevention, you have to firstly sodium fluid restriction. First point is sodium fluid restriction. In this, you have to limit the sodium intake. That will help in maximize the effect of diuretics and thus moderate the workload on the heart by reducing the circulating volume. So what happens when you take low sodium diet can be very unpalatable, so a compromise between avoiding an excess salt intake while maintaining an adequate nutritional intake is required. So a no added salt diet should exclude high source of dietary sodium by meat and vegetable extract, curd meat, tinned fish and meat, tinned and packet soup, salted nuts and crisps, soya sauce, monosodium glutamate. In more, next is your these are the diets you should follow for restricting the higher sodium intake. Next is your nutritional adequacy. In more advanced cases, appetite can be very poor and food intake limited by symptoms. For this, ensuring a nutritionally adequate intake by encouraging a small, frequent, nutrient-dense meal may be helpful in maintaining the body weight, and this may conflict with the principle of the cardioprotective diet. So, advice must be given holistically to take into account the likely to prognosis. Next is dyslipidemia. Dyslipidemia is the increased concentration of total low density lipoprotein, cholesterol, and triglycerides, and decreased concentration of high density lipoprotein, cholesterol, are CVD risk factor, means cardiovascular risk factor. So what happens? Some health professionals use the ratio of total cholesterol to HDL cholesterol, but other finds its absolute value are more useful for determining in management. So as a crude guide, the optimum ratio is serum total cholesterol to HDL minus cholesterol, that should be 3.5 is to 1. For this, specific lipid profiles are done on the basis of which the dietary management dietary management follow to give a proper diet. So, once the cardiovascular diet describes, as I described, should provide the basis for food related advice in all forms of dyslipidemia, and additional guidance is appropriate for specific lipid profile. So the first is higher total and low density lipoprotein cholesterol, and normal HDL cholesterol and triglycerides. This is For this you have to reduce saturated fat intake, particularly partially substitute monosaturated fat, encourage soluble fibers such as you can go for fruit, vegetable, oats, pulses, and you should limit dietary cholesterol intake if high. The next is profile is high triglycerides and normal total LDL and HDL cholesterol. For this, if body is obese, then you have to go for weight reduction, reduce refined carbohydrate, and also reduce or avoid alcohol in this time also. The third profile is higher total LDL cholesterol and higher triglycerides. So if the body is overweighted, then you have to go for reduced weight, reduce total and saturated fat intake, partially substitute monosaturated fat, replace in this refined carbohydrate with the complex carbohydrate. Also, you have to reduce or avoid alcohol and limit dietary cholesterol intake if you are taking in higher quantity. The last profile is you have a lower HDL cholesterol. So in this, you have to encourage regular aerobic exercise. Moderate alcohol should be given, for example, 1 to 2 units per day, and ensure total fat intake is not reduced too low. For example, replace saturated fat with monosaturated fat. Along with this, some drug treatment for dyslipidemia also is given. In addition to dietary modification, patient with 3% of absolute risk of cardiac event can be prescribed lipid lowering drugs, that is the uh, statin, which together with N3 fatty acids have the most favorable effects on reducing the cardiac mortality. So individuals at lower risk, for example 10 to 15% risk of cardiac event, can buy statin over the counter or from the medical store, and but it will be convenient if you get it prescribed by your doctor or dietitian. Next is Refsum's diseases. So in Refsum's diseases, RD, that is is a rare autosomal recessive disorder of lipid metabolism where the presence of defective enzyme, the phytonyl coenzyme A hydroxylase, results in the accumulation of phytanic acid leading to neurological symptoms. So treatment in this is based on restricting the dietary intake by phytanic acid from a usual intake of 50 to 100 mg per day to between 10 to 20 mg per day. So for this, you have to avoid rich source of phytanic acid, which is the treatment. Means you have to avoid in RDs, that RDs is beef, lamb, meat from ruminant animals, dairy products including cows and goats, fish and fish oils, baked product with unknown source of fat should be avoided because they are the rich source of phytanic acid. Also, you have to incorporate some of the those products which are in less quantity of phytanic acid, foods containing little phytanic acids, or can be acceptable. So acceptable in readies is, for example, poultry, pork, fruits, vegetables, seafood with very low fat content, for example, crab and prawns and cereal products, or eggs, soya milk, or vegetable oils or margarines made exclusively from vegetable oils. So the nutritional adequacy of the diet must be checked to ensure the sufficient energy and all the nutrients are provided. A low energy diet will lead to weight loss and accompanying lipolysis will mobilize endogenous phytanic acid. Next is your cerebrovascular accident stroke. Cerebrovascular accidents, or CVA, are the third most common cause of death the second most common cause of dementia and the most important single cause of severe disability in people living in their own home. So the main cause for this, what happened, why this occurs, the main cause for this is it occurs as 80% of cerebral infraction may occur from 15% of primary intercerebral or subarachnoid hemorrhage or can be caused by uncertain 5% can be uncertainly it can be caused. So for this dietary advice should be given that reduce weight in obesity means a reduction of 3 to 9% in body weight is associated with 3 mmHg reduction in systolic and diastolic blood pressure. Ideally, this should be accompanied by an increase in regular or low intensity activity, such as you can go for walking or go for any of the exercise. Avoid binge drinking of alcohol. A J-shaped curve of schematic CVA against alcohol intake suggests that there may be benefit from consumption of 1 to 2 units of alcohol per day. Third is reduce excessive salt intake. So cutting salt intake from 9 to 6 gram per day is estimated to reduce the systolic BP by 3 mmHg. And also increase fruit and vegetable intake. A minimum of 5 portions per day including greeny leafy vegetable will help to increase potassium and folate intake and provide the antioxidant which and also vitamin C, carotenoid and flavonoid which may be helpful in treatment of cerebrovascular accidents or strokes. Eat oily fish once a week to provide N3 fatty acids. So prevention also in this CVA prevention, cardiovascular, cerebrovascular accident, the risk factor may be due to the hypertension, that is the major risk, and associated with obesity, physical activity, decreased physical activity, increased salt intake, or a decreased potassium intake. The next risk factor for this cerebrovascular accident is hyperhemocystemia, that is associated with decreased fruit and vegetable intake. And also it occurs due to the oxidative stress that can be improved by taking the diet which are good in antioxidants. Endothelial dysfunction is another risk factor in cerebrovascular accident which can be improved by N3 fatty acids. So these are the risk factors which can be cured by these of the dietary advices that I have told, that you should follow the following instructions, and if you are going through these of the dietary advices then it may be helpful in treatment and getting prevention from your cerebrovascular accidents. And changes in all food intake typically associated with the older people, including a reduced food intake due to the difficulty in shopping, cooking, eating, and lack of appetite, often lead to reduced intake of fruit and vegetable and increased consumption of nutrient poor processed food. So these are some of the another causes that may the person may have this cerebrovascular accident. So treating the CVA. So free radical damage may play a role in brain damage after infraction and reperfusion. This suggests that antioxidant therapy may have a role to play, although current evidence is unclear. So a well-balanced antioxidant-rich diet may have potential value, and many patients are unable to eat following the cerebrovascular accident. The nutrition support may therefore be required, and it is essential that this provides not only adequate energy and protein but is also complete in all the micronutrients so that it can meet the potential, that is increased requirement for the antioxidant. So antioxidant therapy is somewhat proved to be give some benefits in treating the cerebrovascular accident. So neurological damage after CVA varies with the following losses function that may impact on eating. First, they have an altered level of consciousness. They find difficulty in swallowing up. Their motor weakness occurs, slurred speech, dysphagia, and they also have a visual field defects. So as a result, inadequate intake and consequent undernutrition is a common problem, especially in altered states of consciousness, and becomes significantly worse as hospital stay continues and is associated with increased morbidity and reduced survival. So let's talk about the dysphagia. Dysphagia is generally the discomfort, difficulty, or pain when swallowing. It is a common uh, following stroke. Swallowing generally has a four stages. Firstly, the preparation, that you have to transfer of food into the mouth and seal with the lips. Then the oral, you have to chewing up, mixing with the saliva balls, and you have to form the ball and then transfer towards the pharynx. And third stage is your pharyngeal, that is the complex stage where the bolus is involuntarily transferred towards the oesophagus with simultaneously closure of larynx and pause in respiration. The last step is oesophageal, that is to transfer to the stomach to peristalsis and gravity. So for the treatment of dysphagia, firstly the nutritional requirement is very important. The energy and protein requirement may increase due to hypermetabolism, which persists for 4 to 8 weeks, and in frail elderly people who have pre-existing undernutrition. Next is your texture modification. If swallowing is impaired, modifying the texture of food may facilitate safe oral intake. So if you modify the food items into some textured form, means you crush the if you crush this solid material into some smaller portion, that would be easily swallowed up by the patient, and it could be helpful in chewing them, and dysphagia problem will not occur. There is also texture modification, and you can also go for modification if you change the solid material into some liquid form, that also helpful in swallowing up the food items by the patient. Next is your tube feeding. Suppose the patient is not able to chew up the food properly and could not able to take the food by mouth properly, then there is an option, you have to feed by tube. Patient with dysphagia who are unable to achieve their nutritional requirement orally, and those who are unconscious may require the tube feeding. So in this method of feeding should be based on the estimated length of the time over which the feeding will be required. For this, you can go for nasogastric tube, that is the NG tube that I have discussed previously in a previous lecture. Do refer to that lecture also, in which the feeding problems I have discussed. And you also go for the percutaneous endoscopic gastronomy, that is the PEG. These all are the two methods through which the tube feeding could be done to the patient who is suffering from the dysphagia. For this, the patient nutritional status and ability to swallow should be regularly monitored and adjustment made to their nutritional management accordingly. So dysphagia frequently resolves in first 6 months following a cerebrovascular accident, although it may persist for a longer time. Switching to overnight tube feeding to encourage the oral intake during the day may facilitate a return to normality, and patient may continue to need assistance with the meals and most of all time to maximize their ability to eat an adequate diet. Next comes your hypertension. Hypertension is generally defined as a systolic blood pressure, that is the SBP, that which comes above 140 mmHg, a diastolic blood pressure DBP that comes above 90 mmHg, or when left below this are maintained by antihypertensive medications. So it is a significant health problem in many of the countries. Estimated prevalence of 32% and 30% respectively, and prevalence increases as the person become older or increases with the increase in age. So hypertension is a major risk factor for cardiovascular diseases, especially in stroke problem, apnea, myocardial infarctions, heart failure, and left ventricle failure, and renal diseases and retinopathy. There are some of the factors that contribute to hypertension, which includes your obesity, especially if central adiposity, your insulin resistance, diabetes mellitus, low level of physical activity, psychosocial stress, high salt intake, and high alcohol intake, especially if regular heavy being drinking. So these are the causes how a person suffer from the hypertension. Overweight, insulin resistance, diabetes, these are the main cause of getting the problem of BP or hypertension. So lifestyle advice should be offered as the first line of treatment. Means you should go for changement in lifestyle. You should go for a regular exercise. You go for the aerobic exercises. You should go for the dietary changement and some of the routine change in your life. That is the first line of treatment for getting cured of hypertension. Those with the diabetes or previously have a coronary heart disease should receive additional advices by the doctors or by your dietitians. So there are some dietary interventions for hypertension that they firstly you should reduce your excess of body weight. So the losing 3 to 9% of body weight is associated with the 3 mmHg of reduction in SBP and DBP. Second is limit alcohol. Limit alcohol intake to maximum of 21 to 14 units per week for men and women. And it is structured interventions to reduce excess of intake is associated with men reduction to 3 to 4 mmHg, SBP and DBP. Third one is limit salt intake. You have to reduce. This could achieve by not adding salt to food at the table, using just a pinch of salt in cooking, and limiting the processed food including the stock cubes, meat, vegetables extract, cured meat, etc. Now next is to eat more fruits and vegetables. So 5 portion per day should be minimum target you should go for. Calcium, potassium, magnesium supplements are not recommended at present, although there is some evidence that there is an adequate intake provided through the food may be beneficial. So overall, a cardioprotective diet is appropriate for individuals, which is may find helpful in treating and curing the hypertension in your body. So thank you for being with us. I hope you have understood all the aspects, all the nutritional diet which are to be provided in cardiovascular diseases. For more information related to this, you can log on to our website www.itlsacademy.com and register yourself. You can also follow us on Instagram, Facebook, WhatsApp, Twitter, LinkedIn. And yes, do not forget to subscribe our channel ITLS Academy at YouTube.